Lift heavier and heavier weights. Do more and more reps. Those are the most common means of driving for muscle growth in your workouts. You stimulate your muscles to grow by forcing them to do more work. And you force them to do more work by lifting heavier weights and doing more reps. That's progressive overload. Can that be an effective means of building muscle over time? You bet it can. But is it the only means? No. And in addition to that, there are times where focusing on progressing by lifting heavier weights and doing more reps, now get this, might actually hold you back from making more muscle growth progress. Yes, you heard that right. There are times where your muscle growth progress might actually be stalling because you're focused on lifting heavier weights and doing more reps. In this video, while showing you footage from my latest full body gym workout, I'm going to share with you exactly what I'm talking about here and how you can and probably should in some contexts aim to progress in a way that doesn't necessarily involve lifting heavier weights and doing more reps. Honestly, this is something that once I finally started to understand and put into practice, really took my muscle growth progress to the next level. My hope in sharing this with you is that it does the same thing for you too. Before we get started, if you find this video to be helpful, please consider hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. It really helps me out. Okay, let's dive in. Don't get me wrong here. Progressing in your gym workouts by lifting heavier and doing more reps is a great means of driving for muscle growth, especially for beginner and early intermediate lifters. Yes, it's still great for advanced lifters too, but things get a bit more complicated after a certain point that makes progressing in that manner less straightforward than most might initially think. As mentioned earlier, lifting heavier and doing more reps is a way of making your muscles do more work, and thereby exposing them to more mechanical tension. It's the mechanical tension that's applied to your muscles that acts as the driver or stimulus for muscle growth. Now, here's where things get complicated. At some point, after progressing through those means and accomplishing a significant amount of foundational muscle growth and strength gain, continuing to progress in load and in reps becomes more and more difficult. Progress might slow exponentially. At that point, you might very well have the capacity to continue progressing, slowly but surely, through sheer force of will and effort. And honestly, that is what it often takes to continue making progress. Tons and tons of effort. You're forcing your physiology to literally change after all. But here's where things truly get more complicated. Upon reaching a certain point, you might find yourself hitting plateaus or where progress stalls to a snail's pace. What happens then? Well, this is where progressing in load or reps might cause more harm than good. See, when you aim to continue progressing in that manner, when you're more or less plateaued, what often happens is a technique breakdown. Technique breakdown and sacrifice of continuing to make progress. I'm talking technique breakdown in the sense of losing rep control, shortened range of motion, or having a less secure setup. Sometimes there's a big drop in technique integrity, but other times it might be more subtle. But here's the thing. When technique starts to break down in favor of lifting heavier and doing more reps, less tension will very likely be applied to your muscles. And you know what that means? You'll be building less muscle, not more. Not to mention your reps and sets become riskier for developing nagging injuries and pains. Take bicep curls, for example. If you progress from 15 pounds to 25 pounds and increase your reps per set with them over 12 months with good technique, as in with a full range of motion, a controlled tempo, and good exercise setup, you'll very likely build tons of muscle. But if you find yourself no longer able to continue progressing beyond 25 pounds with the same great technique, but continue to try to progress in load, the amount of muscle growth stimulus you experience will likely decrease, and the likelihood of aches and pains coming up might increase. And that's not ideal. So at that point, what should you do? Should you just keep aiming to push forward and load in reps? Will the walls eventually cave in? You could try that, but it might be that there is a better, more effective and efficient means of progressing that doesn't necessarily involve lifting heavier or doing more reps. Remember how I mentioned earlier that it's mechanical tension that drives for muscle growth? Well, the thing about that is there are ways of increasing mechanical tension outside of just lifting heavier and doing more reps. And one of my favorite ways of doing so is to find ways of applying more mechanical tension to each rep and set. I'm talking about making each rep and set performed more efficiently, more effectively. This can be done through slowing your rep tempo, adding pauses to your reps, or more generally speaking, aiming to refine your technique. Make your reps look more under control and in the pocket. See, if your reps look more under control, then there's a good chance your muscles are working harder to keep those reps under control. I think about practicing a musical instrument, like the trombone. You can play a B-flat major scale at 2 octaves by simply playing through the pitches and calling it a day. But to get really good, it means more than just playing through the pitches, but rather how you play through them. I'm talking about refining your intonation, tone quality, articulations, phrasing, tempo, smoothness, and so on. See, you can learn all of the notes of every one of your scales, which will lead to a certain amount of proficiency on the trombone. But to get really good, it means practicing the finer details of those scales. The same pitches, but played with more or better intent. The same idea applies to lifting weights and building muscle. Instead of simply aiming to lift heavier weights with bicep curls, again as an example, consider aiming to really refine your technique with the reps and sets you're already able to do. Do them with more control. Be super particular about your tempo. Add pauses. Try different ways of visualizing how you perform your reps. Become a dang master at them. If you do that, you bet your butt those reps will feel more effective and harder to perform. And that's a good indicator. A good indicator of what, you ask? Well, of more muscle growth. Upon refining your technique and control of your reps, you'll build more muscle. And from there, you know what will happen? You'll likely develop the strength potential to increase in load and reps, but this time with more mastery and control. And along with that, even more muscle growth stimulus. And there you have it. Yes, aiming to build muscle by lifting heavier and heavier weights and doing more and more reps is an effective means of doing so. But it isn't the only means, and in certain contexts, it might actually not be the most effective one at all. Aiming to improve at the skill of lifting itself, like improving your technique, your level of control, your rep tempo, and the amount of efficiency that you move with for every rep that you perform, will in some contexts, be the most effective means of progressing and building more muscle. And upon progressing and building more muscle through the means of improving your skill at lifting, you'll develop and increase your capacity to actually perform more reps and lift heavier weights. At this point, I'd love to know your feedback. Let me know your thoughts, insights, comments in the comment section below. Before this video comes to a close, I want to quickly let you know about the work that I do. When I'm not making YouTube videos or Instagram content, I work full-time as an online physique coach, where I help my clients to accomplish their muscle growth and fat loss goals by optimizing their approach to strength training and nutrition. And I coach them through the process. I've been doing this work for over 7 years and love helping my clients to not only transform their bodies, but ultimately their lives. If you've been considering getting some help with accomplishing your own physique goals, feel free to hit the link in the description below, where you can learn a little bit more about the work that I do and how I can help you. You can even use that link to schedule a free video consultation with me. If you have any questions about my coaching or how I can help you, just email me at sam@jadeathletics.ca. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.